everyone, Stephanie with Mama Bear Inc. Welcome back to my YouTube channel for another card making video. If this is your first visit, thank you very much for joining me, and I do hope you'll consider subscribing. Today we are going to be making a card, and this is a card I saw on Pinterest by a Stampin' Up! Demonstrator named Mary Bush, and I'm going to be doing a little bit of a different take on it, but her card is what I'm going to be using as inspiration, and we're going to be using a couple of new stamp sets from the 2015 holiday catalog. First, we're going to be using Acorny Thank You, which is fantastic. I am an acorn nut. Haha, get it? And I just love this stamp set and all of the different acorns you can put together. It does have a coordinating punch, which you can purchase in a bundle and save yourself 15%. This is the Acorn Builder Punch, and we'll be using this today as well. The other stamp set we're going to be using is called Among the Branches, and this one actually comes in a bundle. You can purchase the stamp set and this Woodland Textured Impressions embossing folder together to save yourself another 50%, and this is an amazing embossing folder. I'm so glad I decided to pick it up. Of course, as soon as I opened the catalog, these were some of my favorites, so we'll be using that embossing folder and this stamp set. And the pieces that we are going to need today, I have got a piece of crushed curry cardstock here that I have cut 8.5 by 5.5 and scored it 4 1/4, just to make a regular side folding A2 size card, which A2 size cards fit in Stampin' Up's medium sized envelopes just perfectly. And we are going to have a layer of Very Vanilla. And then we are going to need a scrap piece of crushed curry and a scrap piece of Very Vanilla to do our stamping on as well. All right. And, oh, there is one more product we're going to be using. These are the Leaflets Framelits dies. This is a whole set that coordinates with our Vintage Leaves and Lighthearted Leaves set. Now, the Vintage Leaves and the Framelits are available in our annual catalog, and the Lighthearted Leaves stamp set is in the new 2015 holiday catalog. So today we're going to be using this wonderful oak leaf, because what goes with acorns? Oak leaves go with acorns. Okay, so now we can get started. The first thing that we are going to do is we're going to texture our piece of Very Vanilla that is our layer on the front of the card. Now, the Woodland embossing folder is a little bit different. Usually the top of your design is up by the fold of the embossing folder. In this case, however, it is the other way around. So when you place your paper in here, you're going to want to make sure that you're going in the right direction. I made a mistake with another one that's kind of like this. It's all hearts, and my card turned out upside down. It was really weird. But you're going to want to place your paper into the embossing folder kind of toward the top. Close it up. Do your regular Big Shot sandwich on tab 1, and when you run it through your Big Shot, it comes out beautifully embossed, just like this. All right, so the ink colors that we're going to be using today are Cherry Cobbler, Pumpkin Pie, Crushed Curry, and Pear Pizzazz. Isn't that kind of a neat combination? Sort of a little bit different for fall, and a little bit different than the ones that I've been using recently. I tend to get stuck in a rut because there's certain colors that I absolutely love for specific seasons. And so I'm trying to change it up a little bit here. So what we are going to do first is we're going to stamp the little teeny leaves from the Among the Branches stamp set. You can see them here, here, and here. We're going to be stamping those in a few different colors. And so I've got them just mounted up. This is a teeny little A block, and I've got one leaf on each side. And then I've got another B block here with one leaf on it as well. So we're going to pick a color per leaf. And the colors I want to stamp the leaves in are the Cherry Cobbler, the Crushed Curry, and the Pumpkin Pie. So the largest leaf, I think, is this kind of, let's see, I think it's probably this guy. So let's stamp him in the Crushed Curry. And we are just going to randomly stamp around the entire panel. Now, see what I did there? You're stamping on a textured surface, so you're going to want to make sure that you put your entire stamp down and get a good impression. The other part is that right along here, oh, for crying out loud, right along here, there's going to be an element added over the top of this. So our stamping is going to concentrate kind of around the edges. So what I usually try to do is put about 5 of each image down and then come back and fill in if I feel like there's some things missing. And I'm just rotating the stamp to get some kind of different impressions. All right, so we will be done with the crushed curry, and we'll move on to our next in cherry cobbler. And I'm going to use the little oak leaf here in cherry cobbler, and we'll do this one 5 times as well, being careful to get a full impression each time that we stamp it down. All right, so that will do it for the cherry cobbler. And sometimes I think it looks a little bare, and so I keep going, which is why I kind of made this rule of 5s with these little stamp sets, because, you know, in a lot of cases, less is more, and you can really turn a beautiful card into a mess if you keep going sometimes. So, and if, you know, sometimes mess is what you're going for, okay, not a problem. I just have a tendency to turn it into an ugly mess. So I kind of hold myself to my rule of 5 images, even for these small guys, and then I don't wind up hating it when it's done. All right, so there's 4 of him, and let's get one more, and we'll kind of squish him. Okay, there we go. So now we've got our 15 little leaves down, and we'll close up this ink. So our base of the card is pretty much done. The next thing that we're going to do is cut our elements. So I'm going to set this base aside, and I'm going to bring out my little scrap of crushed curry. And this is where we are going to be using our oak leaf framelit. And we will just put this on our scrap of paper, and we're going to use tab 2 on our Big Shot machine, or if you have the magnetic platform, which is awesome. I didn't think I needed it until I got it, and then I was like, oh my gosh, how did I live without this? So anyhow, we are going to put this between 2 cutting plates on tab 2 or our magnetic platform, roll it through our Big Shot machine, and it is going to cut us out this perfect little oak leaf in crushed curry. And so we will bring our base back in, because our perfect little oak leaf in crushed curry is going to go right here where we left quite a bit of room in our stamping. So it will go like that. Well, maybe I think I want it just a little bit more, yeah, like that. I like it like that. All right. And so because we are going to be adding elements that are going to add bulk and depth to the front of our card, the first thing that we want to do is to get this layer down on our card front, and we can build up from there. That way we're not trying to put a bunch of glue and push things down when we've got a lot of stuff built up. So we'll take our crushed curry card base, get it folded over. Remember, we scored it at 4 1/4 to make our regular A2 size card. And because I've got some dimension on the backhand side here, I'm going to be using some fuse on kind of the more flat parts, because I want something that is going to give me good stick. And believe me, fuse gives you good stick. All right, and we will line this up on the front of the card and get it placed down. And the next thing that we're going to do is to place down our oak leaf. And I'm going to use fuse on this as well. Now there's going to be some elements on top of this oak leaf, which is why I am not popping it up, because those elements that are going to go on top of it will be popped up. All right, so we're going to place our oak leaf right there. Okay, so we've got that main part. We need to do some more stamping now. We'll set that aside and bring in our scrap piece of Very Vanilla. And we're going to be stamping some from acorns from the Acorny Thank You set. And I've just got, there's 2 different bases in that set and several different acorn tops in that set. So I've mounted up the 2 different bases and a couple of the different tops as well. And I'm going to be stamping these. Now the first base I am going to stamp in the crushed curry. So I'll get this one stamped. Okay. And if you're having trouble getting a good impression with the photopolymer kind of more solid stamps, you can always use your Stampin' Pierce mat underneath or a piece of fun foam. And just because this punch has a couple of different parts, I am going to punch each part out as I create them so that I'm sure I don't have to re-stamp a bunch of stuff. Just gonna line that up in the punch. Okay, just like that, and punch it out. Oh goodness. Okay, and see, it punches out a little top to your acorn as well, which you can try stamping on, but it's not quite as easy as it looks, even with the clear stamps, and especially when you have a couple of different stamps mounted up. So we're going to set that aside, and we're going to do our acorn tops in the pumpkin pie. And so we'll stamp one of our little tops in pumpkin pie here. And we're going to stamp him sideways because that's how the punch works. Stamp him sideways, just like so. And there we've got our little top in pumpkin pie. And I think I'm going to go ahead and stamp the other top just while we have it out here. And we'll stamp this little guy too. There we go. All right, there is our 2 tops. And let's see, our last top we are going to do in the Cajun Craze. There we go. Let's see. Or our last base we're going to do in the Cajun Craze. So, stamp that down. And there we go. All right, our acorns are stamped. So there's the one we've already punched out. Let's go ahead and punch out this second little base, like so. And then we can begin punching out our little tops, just like that. One will go on him. And our last one, if you just take an extra couple of seconds to line these up nice, you will wind up with really nice punched images. All right, and so we're just going to mount that second stamped piece right over top of the first one. So we have our 2 little acorns, just like so. And the last portion of this is going to be our sentiment. So we'll move our little acorns out of the way. And I'm going to stamp our sentiment. I said I was going to use Pear Pizzazz, didn't I? Let's try stamping the sentiment in Pear Pizzazz. Maybe it'll work. I have a feeling it's going to be too light though. So I've got the Grateful for You mounted up from the Acorny Thank You stamp set. And let's see if my head gets in the way. I'm sorry. I'm trying to get this straight. Let's see. Well, that might work. It might work. Let's go with it. All right. And this I'm going to turn into just a little banner. So I'm going to cut it by hand. And these don't always turn out perfect, but you can make them look better by flagging the ends. And I think I've got it a little closer on the top than the bottom, so cut some off the bottom there as well. Okay, now we have a cute little sentiment strip, and we are going to bring in our 1-inch square punch, which is my absolute favorite tool for making little fishtail banners. And what I do is I push the banner into the punch until I can see the writing. I pull it out just until I can't anymore, center it up and punch, and there's my perfect little fishtail right there at the end. And I'm going to do the same thing on this side. And let's see. All right. And there is a cute little fishtail banner. And you see how easy that was with the 1-inch square punch. Okay, so now we can assemble our little acorns. And we're going to pop the acorns up on the front of the card. So I don't want a whole lot of dimension in the acorn itself. Now you could use dimensionals on the back of this to mount those onto your acorn body base whooshamajiggies here. But that's just going to be a little bit too much for what I'm after. So I am going to use some mini glue dots, and I'm just going to put those on the back of my acorn tops here. Just a couple on each one. And I'm just using my Stamp and Pierce tool to pick those up because they are incredibly sticky. Like that. And it's just a little bit easier to pick them up with a tool as opposed to getting your fingers all in them, which I'm still doing. Okay, so let's take our little tops with our glue dots on the back, and we're just going to line them up and stick them down. And we've got our little acorns put together, quick and easy. We'll get the second one done here. There is our second one, and we've got our little grateful sentiment. Now, the last little bit of something that we're going to be using on this card, this is the Stampin' Up! Gold Metallic thread. And it comes on this big, huge spool, so you get a ton of it for what you pay for. A little tip, I take my X-Acto knife, because this tends to unravel really easily. I take my X-Acto knife and I cut a little slice into the top of the spool so that I can, when I'm done with the end of it, I can just pop it up in there in that little slice, and it holds it and it doesn't unravel on me. So today though, we are going to be making a little kind of nest of thread. I know you guys have seen this. It's very popular and it's really easy and fun to do, and it just gives your card a really festive look. So see, I'm going to put that into, that worked really well. Just going to kind of pull it up in there into that little slice, and that's going to be good for now. Okay, so let's bring our card base back in, and we're going to place our little acorns kind of right here together with our sentiment right over top. So we want our nest of gold thread to be somewhere in this vicinity. And I like to use fuse for this. And I just put down a little dollop, if I can get it going. I just put down a little dollop, just like that. And I take, and I know this stuff is so fine, it's hard to see. I take one end and I stick it in the fuse, and then I just start making loops. This is the easiest way I have found to make these nests. I've seen people just wad it up in their hand and go to town with it. I am not that talented, apparently, because it does not work for me like that. So I just kind of create them, and I do try to, again, stick with an odd number of loops. I think odds are just more pleasing to the eye. All right, so I've got an odd number of loops there. I'm going to snip off the end, and all of my wonderful gold thread is stuck to that little bit of fuse. So now I'm going to lay down the first acorn, and she's going to go, I think, right about here. So we're going to put her, like I said, up on some dimensionals. Excuse my reach. And I'm just going to put a couple of dimensionals on the back here, just like so. Throw those on the floor. Yep, got to have something to do later. Okay, and so we're going to put her right there. All right, right on top of our little nest. Now, we're going to put the second acorn kind of over top of her. So we don't want to put dimensionals on this side of the acorn, because otherwise it'll be all popped up and wonky. We only want dimensionals on this side of the acorn. So we will place a couple just to the one side, like so. And then we'll, excuse me again, get some snail adhesive and just put a little bit of it over there on that side. So now when we place our little acorn down, well, it would work a whole lot better if I took the backs off the dimensionals, huh? Yes, this is what happens when you have too much coffee. Okay, we'll place our little acorn down. So our dimensionals are on this side and it's stuck nicely to the acorn on the other side as well. So all that is left is to place our little banner here across the front. And I think I'm going to do that just with some snail because, again, I really am not looking to have a big puffy card. Those are a little bit harder to send through the mail, especially in regular envelopes. So we'll just put some snail on the back of that. And I always try to use my grid paper to help me get things straight because I don't think my eyeballs are very straight. And we'll just lay that down across the front, and that is going to complete our little acorn leaf card. I really like the way that it turned out. I like kind of the bright color scheme. I think I might have added a few more leaves, but again, this is one of those things where you can come back in easily because these are such teeny little stamps. You can come back in and fill in pretty easily even after your design is done. Just be really careful not to smear the ink, which is my huge problem. So that's going to do it for today. Thank you very much for coming and hanging out with me. I've enjoyed spending time with you, and I look forward to doing so again soon. Take care.